All right. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. No, I was not talking yet. So you guys are okay, Justin and Rose. Yep. Good. Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for being here on time. I actually have a couple links for you all to fill out. The first one is for attendance. And then the next one, I'm actually trying some new things in my session today. So I'll apologize right now if things don't go exactly as I planned, but I do want to break you all up into grade level breakout rooms instead of, just the shuffled anonymous ones. So if you can fill that out for me, that way I know what grade level you're in, so I can put you in the correct group later. That would be wonderful. You need permission? What in the world? So funny. Sometimes I don't need that, and sometimes I do. It just depends on the server, I guess. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see here. Okay, the second form. Okay, thank you. Let me work on that right now. Thank you guys for letting me know. Yeah, support staff, just whichever level you work with most or whichever one you want to talk about with others. Good question. Okay, let me send out this link, see if that link works. My apologies.
Nope.
What in the world? This does this like every
Says we need permissions.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how to change it. It says anyone with the link.
When you go
Me, but
into
I
your
cannot hear you,
settings,
Adrian.
When I go into my settings, yeah.
Just a moment. I'm getting to my Google Forms because I know exactly where this is at.
People talking. I'm gonna leave and come back.
Okay.
I think I just changed the right setting.
Yeah, because you go into your I believe.
Yep, Jacob, that was
Yes, that one works. You did
Okay,
it.
yeah, because you had to go into your settings and responses and then take off the restrict users.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully it works now.
It does.
Yay. Thank you guys. What great problem solvers you are. Let me get you the link for
Our
attendance.
job.
Well, you guys are good at it, so I love it. Here's the link to the attendance as well. Good to know, Jacob. I always think I'm on my personal email, and so there isn't that restriction, but then I'm in my work email, and yep, there it is. Perfect. So the link
chances are we experienced that because we were sending something out to a colleague or students and they told us the same thing. I can't get in.
Right? Experiential learning. We're actually talking about that today. And hey, while I'm getting advice from you all, I actually took a bad fall at the dog park a few days ago and like landed on the edge of the concrete and broke my tailbone. So if anyone has any advice on how to like sit with a broken tailbone, I'm having a very hard time. So if you see me
get a donut. Do you have a donut?
I don't have a donut pillow, no.
That's what I was gonna recommend. I broke my tailbone snowboarding when I was 22, hitting a way too big of a jump that I probably shouldn't have hit. But yeah, I was out for I'm not gonna lie, I was out for about 3 months. Had a hard time walking. The donut did help for sitting long periods of time, but yeah, unfortunately, Adrian, you're in for a long recovery process. That's the hardest bone to recover from, according to doctors. It's like the worst bone to break because you're uncomfortable in any position, no matter what you do.
And you can't cast it. There's like nothing you can do for it. Okay.
Right.
Well, and they said it was going to be a long recovery. So fun.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck. Get that donut.
Yes. Well, someone recommended the regular donuts too. Thanks, Alex. I might go get those for some caloric therapy. Wonderful. All right. Well, hopefully you guys both were able to, able to fill out both forms. And like I said, I'm going to attempt to make some grade level appropriate breakout rooms, but we'll see. Alex, Shannon is asking, did you land the jump? Or did you not land that jump?
Yeah, so I was on the snowboard team for a number of years, and I was actually at a competition, and it was the biggest kicker at the end of the park, and I tried a slow spinning 360 and came down, landed backwards, caught an edge, and landed right on my tailbone going about 40 miles an hour. So it landed on my tailbone first, broke my tailbone, and then I was wearing a helmet, but still landed on my head pretty hard and knocked me unconscious for a good 5 seconds. And then went to the hospital, had a concussion, and then they told me my tailbone was broken, and they said that's the worst of your injury. And I was like, so I'm okay, my head's okay? And they're like, yeah, as long as you just come back in a couple of days if you feel you're still feeling foggy. And I ended up making a full recovery. But yeah, unfortunately, no, I did not land the jump. Probably the worst fall I've ever had. And I actually hung up the sport after that. I was a competitive hockey player, and it took me out of the season for that year. And it was it was unfortunate, but
that's rough.
Yeah, made a full recovery. But like I said, Adrian, it's a painful, long recovery. So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Good story, Alex. All right, let's go ahead and jump into today's session. Our objectives today, we're really going to focus on the classroom environment. And for you all, that depends on the classroom environment you create online with your students. We're looking at the intention and the structure of that, and it's really to support that trauma-informed instructional practice framework we referenced in Unit 1, and now we're going to discuss that more in Unit 2. We're also going to talk about code of conduct, more than rules, and just getting students used to behaving in a certain way, or expectations of attendance, or this is why this is in place because of X. And it usually leads to some kind of social or emotional part of their learning. Because as we all know, if kids aren't functioning at a human level, it's very difficult to get them to function at a student level. So we're going to go into that and growth mindset. And then as always, we'll apply that knowledge to your online practices. Everything we do today is in Unit 2. So once we clock out at 12 o'clock and we're finished, we will have completed all of Unit 2. I'll go into Schoology and check everything off for you, get that done. You will submit one thing to Schoology. So if you have not joined yet, make sure you have. That's imperative today. I can bring this code back a little bit later if you haven't, but that is definitely important to our class today. Hopefully you all know me by now, maybe after 1 week or so. I thought I'd highlight my dogs this week. I have 3 of them. 2 of them I did buy while my husband was at work. So as of right now, I'm on grounding, cannot buy any more dogs until one passes away because my husband's like, I can't handle this anymore. The one on her little back up there is Jessie. She's our lovely mutt. That's how she sleeps all day long. I love her. She's amazing. She's 11 and pretty cool. The lovely 0.5 of the upper right corner is Piper. I actually got her from my son. One day in class, the teacher said, one of my good things is that my dog had puppies. Does anybody want one? And we had just lost our golden. And so he's like, I want one. And then he texted me and I got it and brought it home and surprise, honey, I got another dog. But she's 2 and she's amazing. And in the bottom right, I don't know if any of you out there are an Aussie survivor, an Australian Shepherd survivor. There should be a club and special therapy for us because these dogs are insane. He's obsessed with fetch. I've never had a dog play fetch before. So for his first birthday, I bought a pack of 12 tennis balls and dropped all 12 on the floor. And he was just amazed by it. But I love dogs. Dogs are my passion. I wish I could just work with them all day. They're actually my coworkers from home. So hopefully some of you all have lovely fur babies that work with you and keep you company and keep life interesting because boy, do they do ever. Yes, healers are the same. It's those stubborn dogs. They're too smart for their own good. It's crazy. Yes, if you don't have a fur baby and you can get one, please get one. They're just the best. Rescue is the best. And you guys know the rest about me. So what I do want to do is introduce you all to a new tool today. I'm a big fan of tools. So without further ado, here's our first one. And I hope, actually, if you've worked with me in the past, you've probably seen this. But if you haven't, then this is a new one. Dahlia, she who must not be named. Goodness, Rose, you have to teach me some of those dog survival tools. That's amazing. So this is called classroomscreen.com. Has anyone seen this, or have I showed this to you all before? This is an amazing tool. Perfect. This is one of my favorite tools for online classrooms because it's meant to be on your screen. So you can have your lesson plan in one of the tabs like I have. I've got my little presentation here. And this is one of my plans, and I will reference it throughout today's session to show you how to use it. What's great is it's free. So when you sign up, you can get it. However, when you do sign in for the free version, you can't save anything, but that's okay. You don't have to save anything. You recreate it every single time you use it. So let me show you the classroom screen I developed for today. So what's nice is you start with a background. You can choose any background you want. I love this one because it's a little polar bear. It's adorable. I love polar bears. And you can throw all sorts of different things on here. There's all these different widgets at the bottom. And so there's even more over here. We're going to use the dice widget today. You can draw, embed things, hyperlinks, all sorts of stuff. But it's a great visual tool, especially if you have students on 504s or IEPs that need things either broken down into smaller chunks or a visual timer or some kind of visual cue. Or if you all have any ELL students that you work with, this is a great way to have visual of the vocabulary. And it's a really low risk way for students to interact with the content or interact with whatever you're working on. If you're a counselor and you have online sessions with your students, this is a great tool to use just to work through some things. Teach them time management through a clock, or perhaps you have a poll. If you have a small group for some kind of emotional support, you can use it for that. Lots of different ways to use this. But for now, I want you all to use the polling option that I have on there. So you can see at the top, it says how to vote. Go to joincrs.com. And I'm actually going to put this in the chat as well. And then you use the code. So joincrs.com is the link. Oh, it's hyperlinking. There we go. And then the code is 1219847. And I'd love to know, if you had to eat one type of food for the rest of your life, what would it be? There's that code again for you. Oh man, Italian food's winning so far. You're right. Chocolate is not on the list. Oh my goodness. I should have had like a dessert category. Well, Rose, you have to choose one because you can't starve. So you got to choose one of them. Oh my, Mexican food took over real quick. Chocolate's always good. Yes. Lilette, which one's yours? It says mine isn't on there. Ah, I've never had that kind of food before. I'd have to try it. You guys are cracking me up. I love this. Very good. So last time we were here, we did that activity of, are you like me? Have you taught third grade, or do you like donuts or Mexican food, whatever it may be? This is another great community building tool. Again, it's low risk, totally anonymous, and it's a fun way for kids to interact. As you were working or as you were entering your answer, I'm sure you saw the donut kind of shift around and see which one it is. You could even do this as a prediction activity of which one do you guys think is going to win. And the kids can kind of, oh my gosh, it's going to be Mexican food or it's going to be breakfast food. And then they actually do it and see how it all turns out. So just a fun activity you can do with your students. You can do this with content as an exit ticket, maybe your last question at the end of the day to make sure they accomplish their objective. You can have a question right there. You can do a social emotional check-in, smiley face, sad face, whatever it is. All the different settings. Let me see if I can change the settings right here. Nope, it's locked because it's already open. But you can change those for different questions. Correct, Rose. You can see who is saying what. You can go in there and click see, and it actually lists who said what. And after you've answered the poll, that's a really great question, Elizabeth. It always stays on my screen. So even though you did join CRS and you voted, it always appears on my screen, the moderator screen. So students have to keep referencing back to this. That way you can keep the attention on your screen and not their screen. So it's a pretty cool tool. I love this one because it showed different things that you're doing. Maybe your phones are open for a question or whatever it may be. A visual timer, if you're doing an activity, we're going to use that today during some activities. And this was just a fun sticker. I mean, come on, who doesn't love vanilla ice in the winter? Hello, any of those 90s or anyone born last century, as my kids like to say. You were born in the 1900s, Mom. Good grief, that makes me sound old. So all you last century babies, ice baby, there you go. So that's a tool I want to introduce to you. We're actually going to come back to it later and give you guys a chance to kind of play around with it. But for now, let's go ahead and move on beyond that community building activity. So cool, Sarah. I love that. Talent shows. Man, I miss talent shows. Those were so much fun. I love those. All right, so here we go. I'm having a lot of fun with you guys. I need to make sure I'm actually getting the content to you as well. So when it comes to a safe learning environment that promotes that trauma-informed learning, there are some fundamentals and some foundations to that. And I know last time we went over some foundational beliefs and you guys had a great conversation about that, going back and forth. I will get you the link to the presentation here in just a second. And that's part of it. But another part of it is, how do you create that and the foundations within that? So the first one is your foundation of learning. That is so important because what you're doing is you are creating the same expectation for all students. So in your online classroom, I hope everybody holds students to the same expectation of you can do all work assigned, you can stay focused for X amount of minutes, you can, whatever it may be, there needs to be a foundational expectation for everybody in that class. And the power in that is that you are now showing students that, there's the link, by the way, to my presentation, that they can accomplish something, that you hold them to this expectation, no matter what they've been through in the past, what they're going through right now, what they face in their future. You have a belief about every single student in your class. And if that's something you haven't considered yet, maybe think about that now. What do you expect of all students in your class? Or as a counselor, what do you expect of all students when you meet with them? Do you expect them to, have their microphone on and their camera on? Do you expect them to share at least one fact in their life, whatever it may be? Have that foundational belief for all of your students. The next one is a code of conduct, and we're actually going to get into that a little bit later today. But code of conduct is not a set of rules. A code of conduct is really how you are as a human while doing school. So think about like the golden rule, even though it has rule in the title. You're going to treat everyone as you want to be treated. That's kind of a code of conduct. So when you're in an online classroom and you're the one scribbling all over the screen or being that distracting person that won't be quiet or is keeping the teacher from teaching, that's not living by that golden rule. Yeah, Rose, it could be classroom norms. I do like the term conduct though, because it's how kids conduct themselves. You have control over how you conduct yourself. So if I'm expecting you to, not draw all over the wall or log in every day. That is a code of conduct and your behavior. So it is a little bit like classroom norms. It can cross over into rules, but I like how it's conduct because that shows students you have complete control over this. I'm saying you live up to this, and now you can go as far as living up to that. Excuse me. So that's why it's code of conduct. Thank you for posting that, Claudia. I appreciate that. Experiential learning. So this is a great one. And I think everybody already does this as a teacher, counselor, support staff, whoever you are. Anything a student is going through, turn that into a learning lesson, a learning moment. So if they fail forward. Even if it's just, I am having the worst day. And the lesson is, I am so proud of you for showing up today. Even though you're having the worst day of your life, you still chose to be here. And I'm so proud of that. That's a learning moment. We're not saying don't have a bad day, or again, like they always have a bad day when it's, comes to math or whatever it may be. Just letting them know even being here is huge. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. And that can promote them, let them know, even if I am having a bad day, I am strong enough to show up. If they have a success, oh my gosh, celebrate the heck out of that. Maybe they got their first A on a test, or, a vocabulary test for an ELL student and they aced it, or they learned 2 more words than they did last week. Celebrate that. That's an experience that can lead to real learning. And knowing that they have another adult who's in those moments with them, who gets it when they're down, who celebrates when great things happen, that's like a foundational belief of trauma-informed instruction, is just taking anything that the student's experiencing and letting them know we can learn from this, we can use it to grow from, whatever we need. Promoting growth and self-reflection. I know this is a little more difficult to do in an online classroom, but providing opportunities for students to grade their own work, giving them the rubric back and saying, you fill it out. Did you accomplish this or not? Having them reflect on a poor grade. Maybe they failed the test. Well, why? Let's figure out why, what happened. And always letting them know that wherever they are, they can continue to grow from that growth mindset. And we'll mention that again and again throughout today's session. Especially with kids that have experienced trauma, a lot of times they feel trapped in that. They feel handicapped by that. And they feel like it's driving what's happening to them. I'm having a bad day because, A, B, and C. They can't see that they can move beyond that. Especially with the support of an amazing educator like you all, they can move forward from that. So constantly promoting what went wrong, what went well, and how can I move forward is huge for students that have experienced trauma. And then having some pride in the classroom group, maybe it's a small group you meet with repeatedly, whatever it may be, building that community of that group. I know sometimes teachers have had names for their class and students will vote on the classroom. One time it was like animal themed. So it was, the pink dolphins met on Tuesdays, or I'm not sure how your schedule works, but having some kind of banner to fly and that identifies them as a community, that small sense of belonging can really help students that are struggling with any kind of mental issue, or neglect or abuse or whatever may be going on. Knowing that they belong to something that's bigger than themselves is a great part of trauma-informed instruction. Any questions so far? I know during my break, I'm going to go on Amazon and look up donut pillows. I know that much right now. All right. All right. Any Ted Lasso fans out there? I'm a huge Ted Lasso fan. His humor, yay. Oh, good. Lots of you guys. Hooray. It is such a great show. I wish I had his attitude more often because it's like nothing can get him down. And when he is down, oh my goodness, it's like heartbreaking. But he was actually mirrored after a real coach, John Wooden. And this coach was famous for just loving everybody. And even though Ted Lasso had no clue what soccer was or, football really was, he coached American football and then was transported to England to coach that kind of football. And he had no clue what was going on. Yes, Jamal, a goldfish, be the goldfish. Yes. And he had no idea what's going on. But he turned out to be this amazing coach because of how he treated people, how he empowered them. You know, he was constantly cheering for them no matter what. I know, I think it's Roy. It's been a while since I watched it. But as Roy comments, that's kind of hilarious. He's the grumpiest player on the team. And yet Ted Lasso gets to him. And that's what John Wooden did. So this site, I'm going to give you the link to. It's in the presentation as well, but I'll put it in the chat box. It's to something he created called the Pyramid of Success. And if you read more about his biography and who he was, the Pyramid of Success is the foundation of it. And he basically says, any environment where you're working with someone and want them to learn something, you have to have these traits involved. And it's pretty involved. It's not just one or two things. It's quite the pyramid. There's a lot of things going on there. So what I want to do is give you guys a minute to explore the Pyramid of Success. Now, when you go to the site, like I said, it's pretty involved. You could click each block and it provides you some details. So what I'm going to have you all do is go to this site, and I will put this link in the chat box. And what you'll do is you'll read through all of these, click on them, and then there's a link to Google Form, and I'm going to check the permissions before you all fill it out. And I want you to vote for the top 4 that you would need to have a safe and inclusive learning environment in your online classroom. So now you're bringing this back to your situation. What 4? You could only choose 4. That's kind of tough. So there is the link to Coach Wooden's Pyramid of Success. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to explore that. And then I'm going to send you a Google Form link. Just let me know which 4 you think are necessary. We'll take about 10 minutes for this.
Adrian,
Uh-huh.
are you looking for the 4 that we think we should embody or that we think the students should embody?
The 4 traits that you believe you need to have in order to promote a safe learning environment. So
Gotcha.
like if you think you need to make confidence an important part of your classroom, then do that. So it's more of like, what do you need as your foundation to make a safe learning environment? Does that help?
Kinda.
Okay. So it's more of what you want the students to do, like what you want your classroom to feel like.
All right, that's saying it different. Okay, I'll figure it out.
Okay. if you're finished and you did not fill out the grade level form at the beginning of the course, go ahead and fill that out for me now. Hey, Kevin, I just put the link in the chat box.
Thank you, Kevin. I had the same question. I just asked Joey, and he was about to post it. And then Adrian beat him to the punch. All right, so hopefully you had enough time to go over those different traits that you saw and that you think are important for a safe learning environment, a safe classroom. So I would love to hear from a few of you about which one you chose and why. And so I'm actually going to go back to my lovely classroom screen here. And this is the fun part. I actually entered everybody's names before the session started. So this is a random name producer. And you just type them in one line at a time. Boom, boom, boom. You go through there and you click it. And so if you see your name come up, I would love for you to turn your microphone on and share one of the traits you chose and why you think it's so important in an online learning environment to create that safety net for students. So our first person is Carrie. So Carrie, go ahead and turn your microphone on and let me know what you chose and why.
I chose enthusiasm because I feel like often, especially this time of year, we can kind of lose that and our students feel it like immediately. So if we're not enthusiastic, we can't expect them to be enthusiastic as well.
That's so true. What is it about this time between January and spring break that's just so, it's like, oh my gosh, I swear January has like 72 days in it. So that's a great point, Carrie. I appreciate that. All right, who's next? Paige.
Awesome. So one of the ones that I chose was confidence. So I feel that as teachers, we're confident not only in what we're teaching, but in our presentation as well. So that not only helps the kids feel more engaged, but also like, especially with you're online, you have to have that like positive attitude. So I have that confidence, have that others. So it's like,
Yeah, confidence is important, and it is hard if that positivity and just modeling that. Absolutely. That's a great one, Paige. Charles C.
Charlie isn't here today.
Oh, well, then there we go. Thank you
I don't
very much.
think.
Rosa. Are they here today?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay.
Hi. So what I picked was cooperation. I just think cooperation is so important. Not only for the teacher to share, but for other students to share and let others share. So it's not a classroom that's alive if you don't have students sharing and learning and in other words, they teach each other. So I think cooperation is super important.
That's a great one. I feel like kids can learn so much from each other, more so than us. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. All right, one more. Ashley C.
Hi. One of the ones, a lot of the ones guys list I already chose, but the last one I chose was team spirit. I think it's important to create a culture of teamwork, working together, collaboration in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that whole, banner, team name or whatever it may be, that's really important. Definitely, Ashley. So this is another way you can use classroom screen. It's also great if you know you have students that will not speak if they're called on, or I've told you I don't feel comfortable doing that, or perhaps in their IEP or 504, it says, do not cold call or whatever it may be. You don't have to put their name in this. You only put students in that don't have any kind of accommodation against it or anything. But it's a great way, instead of having that same student that speaks all the time or the kid that never speaks, it creates kind of a fair level playing ground for them to go from, so that they can all talk, or they all have a chance to talk. So thank you all for modeling that so well. So we mentioned a little bit about the growth mindset and how, yes, Rose, very true, and how it's so hard for kids to move forward. I always love whenever I'm saying I want to give feedback, I want to say I want to feed forward, because I'll look back at your work, but the information I'm giving you is for you to move forward. Go ahead and fix it, but I'm not saying, man, all that stuff was wrong, blah, blah, and then it's the end. It's how can you move forward? I think that's the hardest thing for kids to understand in today's world, that coping skill of, this isn't going to break me. This isn't going to destroy me. I'm not stuck on this. I can move forward. And so teaching that growth mindset constantly. If the first time they speak in your class, it's just 2 words. And then, thank you so much for sharing that, Ashley. I'm so glad you spoke today. I can't wait to hear from you next time. Hopefully that gives them that little inspiration and that boost. Maybe next class, Ashley comes back and shares a whole sentence or something. So constantly feeding that growth mindset. Now, going into that code of conduct, I know I talked a little bit about it, but I want to move into more of the details of that. Because when we're thinking about teaching in an online world, we don't necessarily think about a code of conduct, like show up, do your work, participate, things like that. It's more a list of rules or norms. But instead, thinking about things of how you conduct yourself. And even if it's away from your online classroom, you're still a student. How do you conduct yourself as an online student each day? So in a code of conduct, students must have opportunities for success every day. Whether that's just logging in, whether that is joining your class on time, responding to emails in a timely manner, whatever it is, they need to have that opportunity. If you are a counselor or support staff, how are you setting them up for success each day? Do they have a plan of action for, getting through a day with their mental health? Do they have a checklist for that? That is setting them up for success. If you're support staff and you have a small group, what success can they show in your small group and in your time with you? There's always a chance for that. The expectations of a code of conduct, they should always promote and create that environment for strong relationships with educators and peers. So educator to student, student to educator, and then student to student as well. They need to have opportunities to build those strong relationships. I know we mentioned it before, and I'm sure many of you would agree with me today that the time that they have with you online or working with a student is perhaps some of the only human interaction they'll have that day. Because they may have parents that are at work or siblings that, are participatory in life or doing their own thing in school. So having that chance to build those relationships is essential for your code of conduct. When you come to my class or when we have a session or when I'm emailing you, this is me trying to get to know you and valuing you as an individual and as a student in my class. Expectations should foster, I love this, behavioral self-regulation. If you have a code of conduct of, the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated, and in your class that's not happening, all you got to say is, what's the golden rule? And it should remind them, oh yeah, that's how I should be acting in this class. It's not a rule of be quiet, only respond when asked, always have your microphone on. It's more of a behavioral process. And through this code of conduct, they should know this is how I should act as a human being to be a successful student. A successful human can be a successful student. And then those expectations should foster physical and emotional safety. The physical safety, obviously, we don't have much control over because these kids are in their own homes. But that emotional safety of knowing that when they're emailing you, when they're discussing something really personal, when they're in class and you're just asking for answers to questions, is it emotionally safe for them? Or do they feel danger in taking that risk? And we'll get into that a little bit later as well. So, like I said, code of conduct is more for this is how you should human so you can student, kind of making those into verbs. Let me read these questions real quick from Derek. But treat others the way they want to be treated. I like that, Caitlin. That's awesome. Yes. So Derek, you bring up a great point about students that they haven't felt much success even in class previously. Does anyone have any tips before I provide something on how you support and encourage that student and shift that mindset from just constantly failing to helping them feel success?
So we don't have this as much in the middle school as they do in like credit recovery in high school. But when I did teach high school, one of the things I tried to do was reach out to those students and say, hey, I know you've had me before, but we're going to do it differently this time. What can I do differently? What can you do differently? And a lot of times I think they feel like when they failed that we are holding a grudge against them. Like we have this preconceived notion of exactly who they are, and we're kind of holding it against them, even when we don't. It's just perceived kind of in their own head, or they've had that experience prior. And so I've tried to reach out to them and just say, hey, like, this is a fresh start for you. So what can we do differently? What are we going to do differently? What can we change?
I love it. There's lots of we in there. So you're empowering them, but you're also letting them know that you're there too. Ginger, it looks like Shannon is putting you on the spot about your whiteboard function.
So having the kids work on their own like boards and letting them see what they can do and like giving them the power, like, hey, you're awesome, you're doing great, this is what you can do, and highlighting them, like that's to me important. Look what you can do. You may not be able to do what I need you to do, but look how far you've come and look what you are doing now.
That's awesome. I love that. What you're doing now. That's great.
I like it when students make mistakes. In math class, it's almost expected that there's going to be mistakes. But I like it when they actually put their mistakes in the chat And I thank them for being, I call it vulnerable. So it kind of, thank you for being vulnerable to possibly making a mistake. Let's see what we can do about fixing what's going on. Do you see where you made the mistake, or can I show you what step do you need help with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Going off of what Rose said, I also am very encouraging of mistakes in my class, to the point that I've had a few students who are retaking my class, and they're like, yeah, Miss Glover's great at mistakes and she doesn't make you feel bad about them. And then you actually feel really good because mistakes are part of the learning process. And I'm like, yes. So they're starting to really get that and not feel bad about it.
Good. That's huge. It looks like Rebecca does the same thing as well. That's great.
There's one more thing too. Sorry. I'm bouncing off of Ashley with this. If the students catch me with a mistake, and I'll tell them ahead of time, I'm having a really bad brain day, you're going to catch mistakes. And they're like, oh, good. If they catch me at a mistake, they get an automatic sync point.
Ah, yes. Or even modeling how to handle a mistake. You guys, I am so sorry. I just taught that whole lesson backwards. Like, oh my gosh. Or you guys, I messed up the settings to my Google form. I'm so sorry that I caused a little bit of frustration for you guys. Just saying that. Yeah.
I always, actually, as a parent, the question I'll ask my son, like if there was a mistake made or something went wrong, well, what do you think we can learn from this? And I tell him if he can come up with something that he learned, then the experience was definitely worthwhile and it's not a bad thing. And that can be a conversation with students too. If I can answer the question, what did I learn? Then it was not a waste.
Yeah.
And then as a parent, sometimes my son gets a kick out of, I'll ask, what could mom have done differently? He loves that one, calling me out. So I love hearing teachers going, hey, being open to the mistakes and talking to students about it. Like that all comes to mind, and I relate to that for sure. I think that creates that safe environment.
Absolutely. Yeah, that modeling. Right. I appreciate what you said as well, that learning is frustrating and there is a certain level of anxiety that's there for a reason, because your body you have to kind of amp up stuff to really focus or get down to what's going on. And I think that struggle in learning is something that kids aren't used to right now. I think with that reset during COVID, where all the teachers, well, most of the teachers were kind of like, I don't know what to do. Here's a worksheet online, read this book and do this quiz. And we kind of pushed kids through. They lost that struggle of learning. So yeah, frustration in learning and anxiety in learning, I think is healthy to a point. Absolutely. One more thing I'd suggest as well is if you have a student who's just given up on themselves and it's kind of hopeless, I would honestly see if you can meet with them one-on-one or just like send some questions through email and they can answer, and have them share, tell me about a previous experience with the teacher of why you don't like whatever, or, tell me why you don't think you can do math. And even just giving them a platform to share that experience, because a lot of times that can be trauma. It can help you determine, oh, you know what? This student does not enjoy this kind of work. Maybe I can do this with them, or, never reference this during class, whatever it is, and just giving them that voice. And then I think that alone shows that you're a different kind of teacher because you care and you want to see them succeed. That's a great question. Thank you for spurring that discussion on, Derek. I appreciate it.
I think another suggestion. I have teenage girls, but we don't live necessarily you just assume teenagers, there's a lot going on with them mentally, so we assume that they just know how to express themselves and communicate. But they're not always surrounded by people who may model appropriate ways of communicating when they're upset, but sometimes doing the teacher is kind of the modeling of in a lesson, like if you're doing a check-in, modeling, hey, today I feel like this because of this, or I don't know, you can do an activity with emojis, but yeah, I think that that's the issue is that if we're looking at what, at least what my teenagers are looking at as appropriate behavior on social media and, you know, even our dad and I, we're not always modeling the best communication at home, but also at school too, right? I mean, so just reminding them that the ideal communication, this is what it would look like. We're not perfect, but
Yeah.
I don't think we just assume they know that. They don't know it. We don't give them communication 101 in school. It's got to be modeled by somebody who knows that how to do it appropriately.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they don't even know how to say they're frustrated. I never thought of that. Absolutely. Tell me your relationship with math. I like that. That's a tricky one. Yeah, for sure, Jacob. You can definitely pick up on that kind of stuff. Yeah, just in that learning struggle. Solving their own problems. Absolutely. Another fun activity to do, I think there's like Instagram reels or TikToks about it, but it says wrong answers only. And so you ask a question and then take all the wrong answers just to show that's where the thinking shouldn't go. Now let's do the right answers and go from there, just to give them a minute to make a mistake and kind of laugh about it. Awesome, you guys. Thanks for sharing all that. All right, what we're going to do now, I want to give you guys a little break to stand up and stretch, get a drink, whatever it is. We'll come back together at 11:05, and that is when we'll break up into our grade level breakout room. So make sure you have filled out that form. I can post that link again. That's the wrong link, excuse me. Make sure you've done that. That way I put you in the correct room. Otherwise, you're just going to get thrown into a random grade level room. So enjoy your break. Let's come back at 11:06, and then we'll get back to work. All right, here we go. So to give you all an opportunity to work in your grade levels, we are going to discuss a little bit more about this code of conduct. So we went over just some different things about it, thinking about how we can promote kids using it, all of that great stuff. But what I'd like to do is give you all each an article. Now, I will say the K through 6 article does say rules, but think of it as code of conduct. I think it involves all of this. They just use the word rules instead of code of conduct. And then for the 7-12 article, you should be good to go. So let me go ahead and get those links to you. And I actually see that my 7 through 12 one, that's the incorrect link. I'm glad I caught that. That wouldn't have been good. Not that one. Let me find it real quick. Give me just a second. I'm not sure where it went. Sometimes this happens. My apologies. Okay, let me get the right tab open. Exactly. This is a mistake. I copied the link to another Google form instead of a link to an article. So we're going to find that article now in Unit 2. I'm going to access the content and get that for us. Is this about to turn into a musical? Hey, I can go there. I was actually a music major, so I can make that happen if you guys need me to. I don't think you want me to, because I am not this, the best singer. I can hum, but that'd be about it. Where is this article? Oh my goodness. I am so sorry, you guys. This is completely my bad. I have the K6 article. Here it is. All right, here we go. I finally found it. All right. We're going to do this. Ta-da. Oops. All right. So what you'll do is go ahead and read this article, and then I am going to open up the breakout rooms just in a few minutes. I have about 20 more people to move, and then they'll be set. So read the article and sit tight. And then once you see that join your breakout room pop up, you guys are ready to go and do that. Dane, I was actually music education. I played the tenor saxophone. What did you do? Small world. Justin, maybe we should do that whenever there's strong emotions in our class. Just break out. Hey, bass clarinet. I played that in one of the bands. Very cool. Go woodwinds. That's right. Vocal major. Lillette, you can do it. I cannot. I cannot do that. Trombone. Oh, man. I could never master that one. That's true. Maybe singing might be a little bit dangerous for... Look at all these musicians in here. Aw, this is making me so happy. Very cool. I love it. We could have a whole little band going in here. Come on, guys, let's do this. Everybody in my family played the flute. And so my mom was actually pretty upset when I chose the saxophone. She's like, it's a tradition. Rhonda, accordion. All right, that's it. Unit 3, we're going to have a whole talent show. I think Sarah was the one that brought it up first. Wouldn't that be fun? That would be therapy right there. Just enjoying each other's talents. You You guys are like, no, I take it back. These articles are, oh, they're linked in the chat box. I think they disappeared in all of our music talk. Let me go ahead and link them again for you. So K through 6, you will choose the K through 6 article. And then there's the high school article as well. You're welcome. I'm moving names as fast as possible. My apologies to get to these breakout rooms. And you are welcome to actually read the opposite grid level as you as well, because sometimes younger ideas work for older kids and vice versa. So my suggestion. This is taking a while. Apologies. Okay, almost done. And then the chain. Right. There's some I'm just not seeing, but okay. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and start these breakout rooms. And my apologies if this does not turn out right. Like I said, this is something I'm trying today, and I'm going to see if I can use it for other ones. I actually thought that there's going to be like 50 of you guys, so it's a little bit surprising. But hopefully this works out for you guys. If you're not assigned to one yet, just sit tight if you don't get the message popping up. I promise it will open eventually. All right. Going to open the rooms. And again, if you don't have a message pop up, just give me a second and I'll get you there. Yeah, if you're sitting there, you don't have a room yet. Here we go. Now I got it. Okay, I'll start making you guys into those rooms. So you should get moved here in just a second.
I mean, we could be our own little breakout room right here, right now.
That's very true. Yes, I'm actually going to leave all of the 3-5 in here, but let me remove everybody else from here.
Oh, well, that's me.
So I will get you guys moved.
Hey, Adrian.
Uh-huh.
We didn't get directions. You moved us to breakout rooms, but we don't know what we're doing in the
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. We don't know. So
okay, hang on. Let me close out the rooms.
That's okay. Sorry.
Hang on. I'm going to bring everybody back.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good. I got so into making the rooms that I didn't even. Okay, they're ending soon. They're all coming back.
Yeah, I thought I was like, all right, well, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Uh-huh. Nope. That was just me. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
I was sending you the message, and then as I hit enter, it took it as enter the breakout room. So I went to the breakout room and I asked them, and no one in there knew. And I was like, there's no way that we all missed this. So I was like, I'm going to go back and ask.
Oh my goodness, Caitlin, thank you so much for saying that. I totally forgot to give you guys instructions. So when you get to your breakout room, I want you to discuss how you can create some kind of code of conduct for your online classroom in your grade levels. I know it's very different for K through 2, 3 through 5. And then think of a few mottos, like the golden rule, or I'm trying to think of some other ones, but some kind of code of conduct saying that you could have in your online classroom to show this is how you're going to act in my classroom and as an online student. That's what you expect of them. It's not a rule. It's more of how to human. Does that make sense?
How to human.
Yeah, like what do you expect of your students' behavior in your online classroom and as an online student?
Got it.
Don't be a tool. That's beautiful. Something like that. Exactly. Okay. Now I will open up the rooms. There are a few of you that are not in a room. K through 2 is going to stay in the main room. Teresa, you're not. Are you in middle school, Teresa?
I'm sorry.
Teresa, are you a middle school teacher?
Yeah, but I left there to come back to get instructions.
Perfect. So I'm going to move you to middle school classroom. All right, I'm going to open the rooms. There's your instructions. If you don't have a room, just sit tight for a second. Mhm. 3 through 5 is going to stay in here. So if you are at 3 through 5, you can go ahead and start your discussion. While I move a few more people out of here. Okay, I'll move it right now. Yeah, anyone 3 through 5, you guys can go ahead and use your microphones and start talking. If you are not 3 through 5 and you're still in the main room, let me know.
Hi, 3 through 5. I'm a third grade teacher, and I always show classroom expectations before class, such as find a quiet place, mute your microphone, stay in one place, no distractions, raise your hand, and be respectful.
Abby, those are very similar to mine too. And I know that the other fifth grade teachers have really similar ones because I've stolen mine from them.
That's right, you little thief.
Yep, that would be me.
That's okay. I stole mine from my colleagues also.
I think teaching is stealing.
Big borrow steal.
Yep.
Also just like establishing strong classroom rules from the get-go, right? Having like in my classroom, I want to try is like virtual gumball machines, like an incentive, right? So 1 for like turning in assignments and 2 for like whole class behavior. So things like that also.
So Abby or Rebecca, what is the consequence? Maybe that's too strong of a word, but if an expectation is not upheld.
So I don't really do, like, even when I was in the brick and mortar, I didn't really do consequences like name on board or go pull a card or anything like that, because I don't believe that as teachers or as parents we're raising children, we're raising little adults. And so my consequence in my classroom is a discussion, like what happened, why did that happen, what can we do when that kind of stuff happens, and where do we go from here, because that is what I see more of happening as an adult.
I'm going to add to that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gina.
I have one consequence and one consequence only. If they abuse the chat, they lose the chat, and they hate that because what they want to do is talk to their friends. So if they lose that because they can't get it together, then they're big sad about it.
We do the same thing in 7th grade. They love that chat. And even if it's just on topic of whatever we're doing, they hate losing the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll even tell each other, get on topic, stop spamming, or she's going to take
Yes,
the chat away.
They do that in 5th grade too. They will get on each other and be like, stay on topic, guys, stay on topic. She's going to close it.
We had to institute a new norm. So my students create the norms at the beginning of the first semester, and then we revisit them and see if there's anything we'd like to add or change second semester. And one of the things we did add was Mrs. Rawlings will manage the chat, because they were kind of over policing each other. And it got to the point where it would end up starting an argument like, you can't tell me what to do. I'll do whatever I want in this chat, blah, blah, blah. So we had to start instituting the norm of let Mrs. Rawlings handle the chat, please, because then it was just an argument and a distraction.
I was going to say peer monitoring can be effective.
And I
at a
also
certain
related
level, but,
to,
yeah.
I related to like, the chat is like standing up in the middle of a classroom or wherever and just, yelling out, hey, what's your whatever tag or your Instagram tag or what's your gamer tag or whatever. And you don't do that in the middle of a lesson. So we talk about how to be respectful to each other that way. Also, at the beginning of the year, it's important to let the kids show what not following the expectation looks like. It's their chance to, I don't want to say be bad, but kind of be bad and look like they're breaking the rules, so we can talk about the consequences or the reactions that we would take as a class.
Yeah, we can't do that in middle school. There have been incidents.
They would take that a little too far.
Middle schoolers are famous for like, here's the line, let me just do a long jump over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I do is I just take the chat when I want it. Like there's no questions. I'm just gonna open it and close it when I need it. And I found that just is way more successful. And they know that at any moment I'm just gonna be like, oh nope, now we're moving on, so you can focus on what's going on. But yeah, just the expectations. But I've had a lot of kids jumping on and being able to participate, which has been good. The only thing that frustrates me, especially even with the expectations, is them talking about each other in the chat, which is hard. But it's really nice when they can help and build each other up, which is a huge benefit.
We also have to have the norm of this isn't a brick and mortar classroom, and if you have to go to the bathroom, please just go. I don't need to know that information. Just go. If you're going to be gone less than 5 minutes, just walk away. We don't have cameras on during the lesson because we're in Nearpod and I can't be watching them constantly. So those turn off anyway. I don't know. Like, I don't need to know. Just go.
Sarah, I really like that because when I taught my other school, which was online, we had to like constantly be watching the kiddos, right? But like these lessons are recorded, right? So these kids, if they're missing something, they can go back and watch it. So that's pretty awesome.
Something I do I'm going to try and get back to Adrian's topic here. Something I do in the class, other than the classroom norms, is I do motivational parting thoughts all the time. The article that was shared for the high school, 7 through 12, was 13 classroom maxims helping students develop a growth mindset before adulthood. I think I'm going to take each of those and turn them into one of my parting thoughts for each of the next 13 classes. So the kids are going to get these little things and they're going to, they won't know that they're maxims. They won't know that they're from something else. But I think that doing that as the parting thoughts or the motivational thing might help put a little bug in their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that idea, Rose. and doing it one at a time really allow them to process, reflect on it, apply it to their own lives. And yeah, those were powerful maxims. I really liked that idea.
Mhm. I mean, some of the things that I do in there, they're like, oh, wow, that one was deep, Miss Clyban.
Yeah, most kids love those type of things, and because they're, they're so powerfully human.
Mhm.
Not just kids, all humans can connect to them, relate to them.
One of the other things that my students do is a lot of times we'll have students who are new to the online environment for whatever reason. And so we have like Primavera success tips. So after the norms, at the beginning of each semester, it's okay, what did you do for those of you who've been here a long time or who've been successful at online school? What are the things you do that makes you successful at this? And so it gives them a chance to share like what they did that helped them do well. And it also gives me a chance to talk about resources I have to help them with those things. So when it says take notes, I can remind them like, hey, there's a note-taking guide for the unit. Make sure you have that note-taking guide. I send it every week with the announcements, and you can use it when you take your exam. And then they get to share like, I'm successful because, and they can model themselves after other students rather than just the teacher saying like, this is what you have to do.
Yeah, I find it really interesting. I have to tell the kids every time, you can use your notes for the exams. What? We can? It just, every time I tell them, and they're like, they just don't remember. I don't get it. I don't get it. All right, we got 10 seconds.
All right, almost everybody's back. I have to thank you all for your patience with that and understanding. And I now know that if I have a group of probably 80 or more, to not choose to manually move everybody to a breakout room. So I apologize for that and that confusion and not giving you guys instructions even. But I know in the main room, there's a great discussion going on. So I'd love to hear a little bit about the thoughts you had about code of conduct or how things work in your classroom. So I'm going to go back to my classroom screen and use my little name randomizer. And I'd love to hear just what you heard in the discussion. So Jessica P.
All right, we talked a lot about just setting those expectations, and each teacher has different expectations, but really kind of reviewing those, especially within the online environment. Everybody has different ways of student participation even. Some people would prefer the chat, some people prefer the microphone. And so I even shared that in the past, we spent a good amount of instructional time focused on like setting expectations, but I would set student expectations, but they'd spend time also setting expectations for me so that there was real buy-in. And that kind of threw them back a little bit because they were like, I don't know, like you're the teacher, you tell us what to do. And I was like, no, like you tell me what to do too. It's a whole community. And I think that really helped everybody hold each other accountable in a way that they were invested in the community and the environment. So that was really cool.
I love that, making sure that all of you all have expectations, definitely. Caitlin, that cracks me up. The random name generator is scary, isn't it? I know Jamal did the whole like emoji popping up on my screen. We'll just do one more person, okay? And then we'll get over that trauma. So I apologize for the trauma of this tool. Now you're on the hot dog, be the student on the other end of this. Jonathan.
Yeah, we discussed, we really were struck by that 13 classroom maxims, and Rose discussed using that because we have trimesters, so she could basically do one a week and use it more of kind of a philosophical, kind of inspirational discussion point, but also using that as a focus of her, synchronous session, and kind of just embedding that into her course culture. So if you didn't get to read the article, I really highly recommend it. I'll put the link in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, it's nice just to, I mean, even like a inspirational quote, like you said, you can use any of those. Yeah. And yeah, the name generator can definitely be scary for some students. I think it's important before you use it to ask some students or be aware of their accommodations. But then also let them know, like, hey, if your name pops up and you choose to actually speak, here's the reward for that, or here's, whatever it may be, just to kind of encourage that participation. But you guys are cracking me up. That's hilarious. All right, because we had some rich discussions on this side, we do have to skip a couple activities, but I do want to get to a couple that I think are really valuable when it comes to that trauma-informed instruction. So you all get to be the students through my lovely name generator, but now you get to be my student through something else as well. So when students experience trauma, or when anyone experiences trauma, there's 3 reactions. There's fight, you're going to go in for it; flight, no thank you; or freeze. You have no idea what to do. And I think each of us can think of a time in our life when we probably had one of those reactions. I can definitely think of some times where maybe in an evaluation, professionally or at work, I just freeze. I don't know what to do. And then you have to panic and get that cold sweat because now there's that awkward silence and you really don't know what to do. And it's scary. So thinking of that, this can cause a few reactions for students. If a student has trauma, and especially when it comes to school, there's a few consequences because of that, or a few actions you'll see. Learning and retrieving new verbal information is very difficult. If you can think of a time when you've been upset and you're trying to listen to someone, or perhaps you're extremely tired and trying to read a book and you read the same paragraph over and over again, it is hard to learn new information. So if a student has, a home life experience that is traumatic, there's neglect, there's abuse, lack of food, whatever it may be, and then they're being asked to learn something new, there's a block there. There's that traumatic block right there. There's social emotional communication. I think it was Jessica earlier saying a lot of times these kids don't even know how to express their emotions. They don't know how to say, I'm frozen right now, or I can't even think of what to say, or I'm so upset. Maybe their upset is their norm and they think that's how everybody feels. So they don't think they're upset, but they are. There's a whole confusion there because emotions have either been stunted by something, environmental, family, whatever it may be. They don't understand that that's not normal. Like when I shared how I grew up, there's a lot of times I thought everybody got yelled at every single night when they came home from school. I can't believe that, like, wait a minute, you don't get yelled at? Or, what's going on there? It's their normal and they don't understand that there's actually trauma there. Any kind of problem solving or analysis. If they failed a test and you're asking them what went wrong, what can we fix, they may not have the mental capacity to do that and might need you to guide them through that. So trauma can cause that as well. They don't know how to move beyond their own problems because someone's either telling them everything's a problem or there's no solution to these problems. You're just stuck there. And that's where it gets really sad, because then this is where students need an adult to come into their life and say, no, you're better than this. You're more than that. You can do this. And that empowering voice behind them. Every student needs that. Otherwise, these 3 trauma responses in school will keep coming up. And it can look like a bunch of different things. Like, have you seen a student who's lazy and doesn't work? That might be a trauma response, because why try if they're just going to screw up? Or they're overly excited and try to do everything. Or that student, I'm not sure if it's a direct quote or a saying, but Like the saddest people lie behind the biggest smiles. And they might be trying to do everything and be happy and smile all the time because they're covering something up. Maybe they never talk, or they always talk, or they lack boundaries in their life. All of these can be different responses to trauma. I love this discussion you guys have going on in the chat box. That's amazing. But there's different responses to that. So what I want to do is have you all do a short activity that can be quite stressful. And this can elicit the emotions that students could feel if they're feeling trauma or lack of success. And so again, you guys are students or guinea pigs, how was a reference before. But what I want you to do is take this short typing test. Now, there might be some anxiety just from saying that. But what you're going to do is, let me show you the site so you know where to go and everything. I'm going to give you the link to this. 60 seconds, complexity easy. You just start typing right in that little box. And it'll shut off after a minute. And what you're going to pay attention to is right up here, this words per minute. And your goal, you have to get to at least 55 words per minute. So you have to do it a few times. You have to do it a few times. All right. I want you to pay attention to how you feel during this. If you actually reach that goal, if you don't, all that good stuff. So let me give you guys this link. I want you to go there, Jamal. You're going to get 54 3 times in a row. So again, open up that link and start your typing test. The goal is 55 words a minute. Derek, just keep it on easy. All right, go ahead and finish if you're doing a test right now. And if you're done, don't start a new one. So if you're just coming back, I highly suggest scrolling back up through the comments you all made. Roy, you're moving like a hog. I'm still laughing about that one. So My typing has slowed down a lot. Yes, it is the random words. It's switching to the next page. So I'd love to know, give me a thumbs up if you met the 55 words per minute goal or more. Ah, very good. So if anyone needs something typed, you're going to go to these people. Give me a thumbs down if you were like, nope.
I actually found this very, very frustrating because I am naturally a very fast typer, and it said I was going too fast, and then it wouldn't log my keystrokes, and then it would be like, well, you didn't get this word, so it doesn't count, and because it wasn't logging my keystroke. So I found it very, very, very frustrating and discouraging.
I couldn't focus because the ads on the sides kept constantly changing. And also it makes this awful hammer sound every time you type a key. And it was awful. It sounded like a ticking clock and I could not handle it.
Yeah.
I can't. Like, I'm not even a person that can have multiple screens up. I have tabs open so I can look at one thing at a time. I cannot have multiple screens in front of my face or I'm constantly like looking too many places. I even have like those loop headphones so I can plug my ears because I get way too distracted.
Yep.
I didn't like the random words that they showed. It didn't make sense to me, and that's what slowed me down some. So I got the 43, but it confuses you.
Yep. I got to the end of the line and it was like, come on, give me the next word. It was like, I think that slowed me down a bunch too.
Or that the sound wasn't lining up with how you're typing. Yeah. We all learned on noisy typewriters. That's right, Jerry. They had a thing over the typewriter so you couldn't see. So take that experience as a student where you didn't know what it was going to tell you. There were certain things changing. Like, yeah, you're right. Those ads are constantly changing. Or I saw someone say I couldn't go back and fix a mistake. Not being able to do that. Oh my goodness, that would drive me nuts. Or it turns red instead of blue. All of these things can kind of trigger that. So in keeping that in mind, think of ways during your instruction you can eliminate distractions. You can make sure that you've at least warned students. I think it may have helped if I had told you all it's going to make a sound. So if you're not comfortable with sound, go ahead and mute your keyboard. This is a way to turn off the ads. If you don't like this, you can change that. There's lots of things I could have done to avoid some of that. And that's why it's important to know your students. Tobias brought up, but don't all students kind of have the behaviors of not talking and some talking and whatever it is? Absolutely. Any kid can have a behavior. It's just to be mindful of there may be something behind that behavior that's triggering that. Like Sarah said, I cannot work with multiple screens open. I have to do this and this. She knows herself, and her teacher, if that's a student, could know that maybe she can't have a bunch going on at once. So during your class, make sure there's just one thing they're focusing on. It's a pretty cool learning experience just to go through it. All right, we have a little bit of time for this last activity, and this is one of my favorites. I am a strong believer in empathy, and I don't think students understand this enough. And that's why bullying exists, is because students can't put themselves in someone else's shoes and understand something. So I would say about 3rd grade and up could do this on their own. If you have younger students, you can definitely use this kind of game and walk them through it. But I want to show this to you because it's one of my favorite things in the world. Has anyone seen this, placement.org? It's like a reality situation. Okay, I love this. I think every student should have to do this. I think as an adult, we should all have to do this. But when I send you the link, it's going to look like this. And you're going to click on continue to spent. And now this is a scenario, and it adjusts as you go through it. You're going to accept the challenge to see if you can make it 1 month, just 1 month before running out of money. And I think this is a great one because, like, when I Googled poverty, these are the pictures that popped up. You know, India and extreme things like that. And while I understand that is extreme poverty, I think it's sad that doesn't show an average family, someone that's 1 month away from losing their home, a student that might look just fine online but hasn't eaten in 2 days. I mean, poverty looks like lots of different things, not just these extreme situations. So when you come in, you're going to click on find a job, and you actually get to pick a job. It gives you your salary off, all that kind of stuff. And then once you do, it kicks you right into the scenario. Your job is to hold on to your job and not run out of money before day 30. Over here, if you need cash, you can smash your kid's piggy bank, donate plasma, or get a payday loan, just so you know that those are there. So let me go ahead and send this link to you, and I want you to play it and see if you can make it to the end of the month. And that should take us to the end of our class session. Right, Caitlin? Unfortunately, yes. Yep. Go ahead and play until about 11:58. And then we'll come back together. All right, if you're still playing, go ahead and pause for a second. You can finish, and I'll finish up the class. It's interesting when kids will play this because they'll do all the sacrificial stuff. They won't contribute to the lottery pool. Their kid can't go to the party. Their kid doesn't get lunch money, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, yes, I made it. And I always go, yeah, but at what cost? And having them consider that. Now, you know your students best. If you have a group of students where you feel like this could cause some trauma, like Tobias, I apologize that you're bummed out. That was not my intention. But then don't do this. Or maybe play it with them and like they vote on what to do. But I think it's an important way to show students some empathy. Like we have no idea what's going on in people's homes, whatever it may be. It's a really neat reality-based scenario to show kids how quickly things can change, or perhaps the sacrifice that their parents have to make, whatever it may be. It's an eye-opening exercise for students and I think adults. I've actually done this at a PD, and it was amazing to see the reaction of some people and to see the empathy that they started, sharing and talking about with each other, like growing up in poverty or experiences that they've had. And it really does create an opportunity to create relationship. But again, you know your students best, you know what they can handle. And if that's something that you'd like to use in your class, to even just spur on a discussion or something, feel free to use that. But it's a great free tool to do that. We did not get to everything today, and I'm actually happy about that, because what took place of that was great conversation and discussion, especially about how we can help kids that have never really felt success and don't know what to do. So we hit our objectives of talking about a safe learning environment to support that trauma-informed practice. We examined code of conduct and expectations we can have for kids so that they can begin to self-regulate. That's an important part about trauma-informed instruction, empowering our students, encouraging that growth mindset. And hopefully you can walk away with something today to use in your online classroom, one of those maxims or a way just to be more aware, understanding of your students, and showing that empathy to them. We all have a story, but we're all showing up each day, and let's all encourage each other to try our best, especially our kids. So with that, I have truly enjoyed my time with you guys today. I know it was a little bit wilder than usual. I appreciate your understanding with that breakout room. Now I know my limits. But yes, we just completed all of Unit 2. So you don't have to turn in anything. I will go into Schoology and check off Unit 2 for you for your participation today. And that's all you gotta do. You guys showed up. Go ahead and give me your feedback from the link I just put in the chat box. I love hearing about feedback. I try to use it in my sessions. But thank you all for your honesty today. Roy? I need to like put these on my wall as quotes. You're as slow as a hog. May your butt heal quickly. I hope so too. I really do, because this is not fun. I'm definitely going to be standing up and going to find a donut pillow, because that sounds amazing. But I appreciate you all. Thank you for your honesty and your contribution today. I hope you guys have a wonderful few weeks, and then we'll meet again to finish up this course coming up soon. Thank you guys. I appreciate you all very much. Happy Friday Eve, right? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Yeah, thank you. I love hanging out with you guys. You're the best. And I might put a talent show in. Thank you. Have a great day.